Against my better judgment, I somehow became a morning person, but not fully indoctrinated. Like, I'm awake, I just don't like it. And then I keep going to sleep at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and everything that happens in life happens after 10. And so I gotta wake up and find out tea the next morning, and I'm like 12 hours late. It's very disappointing. I am ranting. Hello, how are y'all? It's Kendall here. If you're new around here, welcome. If you're not new around here, what is up, home skillet biscuit? And happy Saturday. If you don't know what Saturday is when I do a little something on my channel called Bad Movies in a Beat, the series on my channel where I talk about bad movies while putting my makeup on. And welcome to the last Bad Movies and a Beat for this year. That is correct. This is the last Bad Movies and a Beat of the year. I am going to be taking a break that I definitely need to stay sane. I'm going to bed, honey. I'm going to sleep. Child. I will be swaddled like a newborn for a good 3 to 4 weeks, depending on how long I end up having off, because Lord knows me, who I am, I won't take the time off. I will be gone until January 8th, which will be when we do the Best of Bad Movies in a Beat 2021, and then I will be back with new videos January 15th. So yes, I'll be gone for Christmas, New Year's, gone for my birthday, and I will return to you fresh-faced, well-rested, and hopefully with a lot of new and exciting things to talk about in the new year. A lot of cool things happening that I'm sure I'll forget to plug, because that's just my brand at this point. Speaking of things I forgot to plug, if you would like to check out Bad Movies in a Beat, it is also now available in podcast format, video podcast format, or audio podcast format on Spotify. I keep forgetting to say that. People keep seeing ads with me in it and they're like, Kendall, are you gonna talk about that? And I'm like, I keep forgetting. But in the meantime, if you miss me, I'll be on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. I probably should be on Twitter less. So with that said, it is indeed that time of the year, the most wonderful one, so they say. Christmas is upon us, and one of my favorite things to do yearly is to look up the worst Christmas movies I can find. Today, we have I don't know if gem is the most appropriate word. It is something to behold. Truly. I found this film that has a pretty impressive 0 goose egg, not a % on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't think I've ever seen that. But me, a masochistic connoisseur of trash, could not let the opportunity pass where I don't watch this movie. Speaking of other opportunities, I'm not gonna let pass me by. Another thing I'll never let pass is a bag, baby. Sending it over to Admiral Kennie. Ahoy. Hi, hello, it's Admiral Kennie. Ignore my lighting, I'm still figuring that out. I am super excited because today's video is sponsored by Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy, bro. Like Marvel. What is my life? I feel like if people don't know me like on social media, you're probably confused, like, Kendall, you game? I do, I'm quite the gamer girl. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy is a single player story-driven action adventures developed by Eidos. I have never said that name out loud. Eidos. They make all the action adventure games that I like, so I'm aware of who they are. I just never say their name out loud. Montreal, and is now out on all platforms. I'm a PlayStation chick, I'm a PS5 chick, so PS4, PS5, Xbox consoles, PC, Switch, you're covered, which is super up my alley. I'm very much so like a one-player action adventure focused gamer. It's a perfect gift for the holidays. It has a 94% positive rating on Steam. But yeah, this is super exciting. Oh my God. Big thanks to Guardians of the Galaxy for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get on to the debauchery, baby. Last week, I finally followed through on my word. I take a while. But I will eventually do the things I said I would do. Finishing up my commentary on Midsommar, particularly how I use Midsommar to judge people. I will judge you based off of how you feel about that movie by the end of it. Do you think that the cult that she entered in was like a new way to live life in this new and unconventional family? Or do you recognize them as white supremacists the way that they were supposed to be understood? You know, just light dinner time holiday conversation. If you want to check out that video, it was so, I love the conversations in videos like that because it wasn't a bad movie. Obviously, I love Midsommar. The discourse that happens in the comments in videos like that is always just love it. But if you would like to see that video and just hear me rant, it'll be linked up above, or you can check it out in the Bad Movies in a Beat playlist or the Good Movies in a Glam playlist. I put every movie in the bad movies in a beat playlist just so that everything's together, but even if it's a good movie, it'll also be in there. Side note, I recently got a boom mic, and I always see it in my like peripheral vision. It's just staring at me, just this phallic object just staring me right in the eye. Sorry. Anyway, this week though, this is a movie that surely only belongs in bad movies. It is truly just one of the most remarkable failures of film. We are talking about a British-Hungarian film, The Nutcracker in 3D, also known as The Nutcracker, The Untold Story. I had never heard of this movie. It came out around the time of the like inexplicable resurgence of people deciding what can and can't be done with 3D technology. You know, filmmakers were really pushing the envelope, pushing the boundaries on what can and can't be done with the medium of 3D. Honestly, not asking enough should they do the things that they do, just whether or not they can. I was intrigued and confused about how this movie was able to impressively score nothing amongst like 32 critics. Not a single person, I guess, found anything redeemable about this film. The Nutcracker 3D is a film adaptation of the famous ballet, The Nutcracker, that takes a interesting approach to that source material in that it turns it into a, quote, thriller. I have so many thoughts happening at the same time and I'm deciding which direction we should go in, because there's a part of me that's like thriller, Christmas, Nutcracker ballet, and then there's another part that just wants to go straight into Nazi rats. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. So yes, this is a film adaptation of the Christmas ballet, The Nutcracker. One, I didn't know The Nutcracker had a storyline, but I didn't realize that there's like a plot there. So apparently the original Nutcracker is a Christmas acid trip of its own, apparently. Something about a Nutcracker doll growing into a human prince, and then there's like a war between gingerbread soldiers and a 7-headed mouse king. Something about a land of sugar and plum fairies. Something of childish imaginations or one hell of an acid trip. This film wants to take that kind of source material about like the Nutcracker that's actually a prince who fights against rats and turn that into this epic Christmas time fable of, again, either childish wonderment or an acid-driven horror fest, or somehow both. And the reviews were pretty scathing, misguided, misconceived, and misbegotten on every level. One of those rare holiday movies that may send children screaming under their seats. But dear viewer, you may be sitting there thinking, Kendall, could it really be as bad as people seem to be saying that it is? And I can honestly say with every fiber of my being that every awful rating that this movie has ever received still somehow does not prepare you to the viewing experience of watching The Nutcracker in 3D. Some of the most unspeakable shit I have ever seen. Torturous, nightmarish, cats adjacent. I think I might have finally found a movie that might be on par. This movie perhaps slithered across the floor so that cats could somehow burrow its way under it. I don't even really know how to navigate this hellscape. I think the proclamation that this movie is a thriller was something that they decided to use to describe it in retrospect. I don't think they realized that what they thought they were making as like a fantastical reimagining of a famous ballet was actually instead some of the most frightening nightmare fuel I've seen in my adult life. And I can only imagine you bringing your child, oh wait, the thought of that, I didn't even consider that. You're bringing your child to see this truly horrifying movie and scarring them undoubtedly for life. Like a synthesized version of your sleep paralysis demon. And then beyond that, if it weren't bad enough, I haven't even touched on the fact that this movie is technically a musical, because as much as I don't like musicals, that is only a cherry on top of an otherwise completely skin crawling experience. Without the 3D element, because I didn't see it in theaters, I can only imagine. I can only imagine just the sheer nightmare fuel of bringing your small children to see this. Oh my God. So yeah, Sorry. Let's just start the movie because we have a lot to talk about. So yeah, this is the Nutcracker in 3D, also known as the Nutcracker, the Untold Story. If only we were so lucky. Our main protagonist is Mary. She's a little girl and she has her brother, who's Max, who's just like a general irritant who breaks toys. That's his character arc. He's annoying and he breaks things. Their uncle is Albert Einstein. You're gonna be very confused through this video. Just follow me. You're just gonna have to trust you're gonna have to just trust the journey, man. They are a wealthy family and it's Christmas, as you can imagine. It's a Christmas movie. Very quickly, we start to recognize that there's just something deeply askew. Something a little off kilter about this movie. Deeply unnerving. There's these moments where the people kind of act in this strange subhuman way. And it's throughout the movie with various characters. It's just a lot of decisions that were all wrong and they kept them in regardless. For instance, right? Like, how do you feel after that? After I saw it, I felt queasy. I felt unease. But no, that's just his joyous face. Like, with that said, all I can say is that if that has you itching, you're in for a treat, man. Okay. Nothing says the holidays like so much glitter on my eyes that I can barely open them. So like I said, their uncle is Albert Einstein. When we meet him originally, he's riding on a carriage to their home and he breaks the fourth wall immediately. And it's one of the many things that are deeply disorienting about this film.
I have the strangest feelings that we are being followed. We are not being followed. Now I'm a little disappointed.
Albert is this sort of quirky, fairy godfather-esque figure that teaches the children to preserve their imagination, partially through song.
You will find life is kind, it's all relative.
He gives them a dollhouse with dolls already inside. One is a monkey in a suit, the other is a clown, and the last is a black child playing the drums. I don't know if it's racist, but it don't feel right. And finally, he gives Mary a nutcracker in the shape of a boy. And it's f***ing terrifying. In a way that proves that this movie can indeed get more frightening than it already has been already. The nutcracker starts talking and gets bigger. And it is some of the most uncanny shit. The CGI is so disconcerting. And again, I can only imagine it would be so much worse in 3D. Like, it blinks, but it doesn't have eyelids. Oh my god, why the f is moving like that? Oh my god. Apparently, the Nutcracker is actually a prince by the name of NC who has been turned into this doll by the Rat Queen. And apparently the only way that he can turn back into a boy is to take down the rats who have taken over his kingdom. At least this point is no stranger than the original ballet, I guess. So in a sort of Guardians of the Galaxy type way, NC brings together the ragtag team of the clown, the monkey in a suit, and the black child. Now, I'm deciding whether or not I want to go through all of the like acid drops throughout this movie, because there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure is supposed to be just general childish whimsy. Look at her dancing with ornaments. Oh, she's flying through the air. Oh, look at the pretty fairy.
You're very pretty. Why, thank you.
But in an effort to somehow orient this psychedelic nightmare, I'm gonna probably skip a few things for your benefit and for mine because I'm going insane. Mary's belief somehow turns the prince back into the prince, like a boy. And the rats find this out and report back to the rat matriarchs, the Rat Queen and her son. Speaking of the rats, there's a lot to speak of the rats. The rats are this just horrifying amalgamation of human and rat. They are human with rat-like characteristics. Ungodly mixture of person and rodent. If that weren't bad enough, they're also a pretty clear allegory to Nazi troops. No, I'm not kidding. That's not a joke. Complete with like gas chambers and genocidal references. But instead, here it's not people they're burning alive. Toys, children's toys, because the Rat King hates the sun, and so he wants to burn as many toys as possible in order to block out the sun from the city that they've taken over. Yep, that's what we're watching today. That's not what you thought you were watching today, but it is. I know what you were thinking when we saw Albert Einstein. There's no way that this could get any more random or any worse. One thing bad movies can do is overachieve, baby, or underachieve, depends on how you look at it. But regardless, there'll always be a surprise. On a somewhat lighter note, the Rat King, he looked so familiar to me and I could not put my finger on it. And I realized that he's this interesting mixture of a Who from Whoville and Barry Manilow. Maybe a splash of Andy Warhol. Again, we've had more random things associated with this movie. I don't know. But he's somewhat of a classical maniacal weirdo. He sings a jazzy tune. I don't even really remember what about. I just remember thinking, I didn't expect jazz in this ballet. Electrocutes a shark. We never come back to that. We never know why he did that. He just electrocutes a shark. Continue on with that Nazi allegory. He has taken over this city full of people and now has forced them into work camps. Work endlessly, tirelessly, day in and day out, shoveling those toys into the incinerator. The Prince and Mary devise a plan to take the city back from the rats. But after the Rat Queen has been made aware that the prince has somehow escaped the magic that turned him into a doll, she does the spell again, turning him back. Apparently Mary's belief isn't enough to get him turned back a second time, so he's just stuck like that until they can figure out how to get rid of the rats. But before the plan of action can get started, somehow Mary is catapulted out of the dream world and sent back into reality, where her parents come home from an event they went to and found the tree toppled over, and she's trying to explain to them, it wasn't me, it wasn't the brother, it was the rats. I was flying through the air and sugar plum fairies. You know, she sounds like she's having a psychotic break, if anything. The parents are upset. They think that their child is lying about, again, these fantastical things that obviously didn't take place. Uncle Albert goes up to the father and says, remember when you once had an imagination? You had a pet pebble and something about a pirate ship. Girl, it goes nowhere. It's an acid trip. It's just an incongruent slew of words. That night, the brother discovers the living Nutcracker, and he up until this point didn't believe anything that Mary was saying either. And so now he wants to join in on the war against the rats. So they all go back into the dreamland to go and defeat the Rat King and the Rat Queen. But unfortunately, they get separated from each other. The brother is completely and utterly useless, and so he ends up willfully going with the rats because they had a bike. And the prince ends up getting kidnapped by the rats. At one point, they took the black child's head off and play catch with it. Again, don't know if it's racist, but it doesn't feel right. Oh my God, what the living The monkey leads Mary through a mirror, which leads directly into the prince's city. Why they were taking every other means to get there before and beats me. We're here for the journey, I guess. They make their way to the smoke factory where the Nazi rats are making the general human population incinerate the toys. Annoying brother, suddenly bothered by all of the toys being incinerated, was like, I don't want to be destroying other kids' toys. And because of his disobedience, he is also locked up by the Rat King.
Miss Mary, no!
They find the prince, possibly already dead, in a pile of toys. The monkey in a suit, the clown, and the black child are able to distract the rat guards as Mary makes her way to stop the prince from falling into the incinerator. Her tears and her love for the prince brings him back to life. The realization that the prince is now back in his princely form inspires a workers' revolt, where the workers run out the Nazi rats.
It's what rats do, Sonny! We run! And little girls in love can be very dangerous.
In the scene, why do they keep... Oh my God, what the fuck? Mary gets kidnapped by the rats as well. There's a moment where we think the prince got knocked off of a tower by the helicopter they're riding in, but the monkey and the prince are able to climb onto the helicopter without Mary's help. That bitch was just looking at him. Oh my God, stop with the face! The helicopter crashes into a pile of toys and the rats run off through the sewers. People rejoice that the rats are now gone, and Mary is forced to return to the real world because apparently this was all but a dream. Boy, was it. But in the real world, she awakes to see Uncle Albert Einstein, who introduces her to his new neighbor, a small boy named NC. And they ice skate in childish, joyous wonder as the credits roll in. And that is the end of the movie. $90 million was spent in the making of this clusterfuck of a movie. Some of the most unspeakably terrible shit I've ever seen. Again, this might be a close contender to Cats. I haven't seen Cats since the one and only time I've ever seen it, but this is the first movie that I've ever considered to be like an actual, I don't know if it's worse than Cats, but they sit side by side. Maybe there's a duality. Maybe there is a whole like underground of terribly made CGI movies that make you itch. I've only scratched the surface of that, and now I'm realizing that maybe Cats isn't all that unique. Maybe there's a whole horrible underbelly of film that makes you constantly feel like you're on the brink of death. And I didn't even touch on the horribly misguided idea of doing like Nazi imagery for a kid's movie. So what a way to end the year, I gotta say. There is a part of me that kind of wants more people to see this movie because I had never heard of it. I didn't even know it existed, let alone that it was, you know, this, whatever the this is. And because I only have so much energy as a human person, I can only touch on so much of it. So to some degree, I would kind of like for other people to witness it so that I'm not alone. Sometimes the hardest part of living the life that you live is realizing that only you have this reality. Misery loves company. Please watch it. I think my eyebrows need to be a little bit darker for this look. And that, my friends, for better or worse, is all for today, folks. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year. I hope you guys have some time to rest up, enjoy times with friends and family. I will see you guys in the new year. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on all my social media, Instagram, Twitter, because I'll be there, all of which are KennieJD. And I will see you guys next time.